station. This is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Yes, I am.
CBS Radio News. This is Mission Control, Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, good afternoon. This is CBS Radio News. How do you hear me?
I have you loud and clear.
Commander Steve Swanson, good afternoon. This is Peter King along with Bill Harwood. We're both in Florida and glad to talk to you this afternoon. And as we talk to you, you're getting ready to welcome a new crew aboard. So I'm wondering how much work it takes to get ready for the new guys.
It's a little bit of work. It's not too much. It's just, we still put in the same amount of time each day, and we're looking forward to it. So it's work that's enjoyable because I know the what's going to come out of this work. I'm going to get some new crewmates, and that's going to make life much better up here.
We spoke with Reed Wiseman a few days ago, actually a couple of weeks ago, and he seems very, very excited to come up on his very first space flight. What do you think is going to be the hardest adjustment for him to make when it comes to living in this kind of environment for the first time?
Oh, it's a microgravity environment with everything floating. And you just have to slow down, take your time, and let things go, because if you try to do things too quickly up here, it's not going to turn out so well.
Hey, Steve, it's Bill Harwood at the Kennedy Space Center. You guys have a really busy summer coming up. I guess there's 2 Russian spacewalks, up to 3 U.S. EVAs, and one of those I think includes you. Where do things stand on getting the U.S. space chute, the EMU issues, put to rest once and for all?
That's a good question. On SpaceX 3 that just undocked about a week ago, there were lots of samples from the suits that were sent down for the engineers to study. Once we get the results of that, which hopefully will be within a couple of weeks, we can then hopefully clear the suits, and they'll be at least close to be ready to go at that point.
Do you anticipate any challenge getting ready for these EVAs? I know they sound relatively straightforward, but I'm not sure an EVA ever really is.
That's a true statement. Even if it looks straightforward on paper, it doesn't mean it's going to turn out that way. So, no, we'll prep just like we normally do for every EVA and try to cover all the contingencies, but it'll be fun doing them. We're looking forward to it.
Let me ask one more real quick before I pitch it back to Peter, and it's the obligatory political question these days. You know, there's a fair amount of concern down here in some quarters about the political situation in the wake of the Ukraine crisis and things that have been said in Russia, U.S. sanctions, all of that. Has any of that had any impact on you and your crewmates? I'm just wondering if you guys even talk about all this up there.
This is a 10-minute window.
Oh, we might talk about it more in the sense of just kind of what the politics are doing. It does not affect our working relationship. We're still good friends. We get along very well. There's no issues at all up here on a negative basis. But we do, keep informed of the news and just try to follow along so that we are informed.
Steve, it's Peter King again. How much, as you're keeping informed, how much attention do you pay to the rhetoric that's going on both sides? And how much do you guys actually talk about this up there?
Oh, I read the news just like most people do, and so that's where I get it from. And it's just a glance, to see what was happened today or that kind of information. But we don't talk about it much, honestly, unless something new came up. We'll just see that, and we'll go, oh, yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, well, we'll see what that means. Because we honestly don't know. For us, it all is the same for us. I mean, as in our work day going on, nothing changes.
And as a new commander, I'm just wondering if any of this is a particular challenge for you as the guy who does wear the commander's stripes, if you will, up there.
No, not so far. It's not been an issue so far at all. We've not had any issues up here, and our mission controls are working together very well, too. It's all going fine and smoothly.
You've got a really busy increment ahead this summer, a lot of activity, a lot of visiting spacecraft. Tell us a little bit about that and how you prepare for all that activity.
Yes, we have a Cygnus coming up. I think June 13th is when it's going to berth. That takes quite a bit of work just to get everything ready to be unloaded and then stuff loaded back onto it. And then, of course, we have to practice the grapple and all the rest of the stuff, so that will be a lot of work. After that, we're going to have ATV and SpaceX almost come close to the same time and to come up, and that's going to be a lot of work. That's a lot of stuff that comes up on both those vehicles, and the SpaceX vehicles have a lot of science on them, so that need to get performed and back on SpaceX and back down. So that's always a very busy time at the same time.
One of the things about the experiments is that, in many cases, they're kind of a turnkey. That is, there's not a lot you do because the scientists are controlling them on the ground or whatever. I'm curious about the kinds of things that you're working with hands-on up there.
Well, the most hands-on we do, of course, are on ourselves. We do many experiments on ourselves, from ultrasounds to eye experiments to all sorts of things. But for other ones, right now, I'm actually growing lettuce as an experiment, and I have to water it and tend to it every day.
Hey, it's Bill Harwood one more time. How important is it to get 6 crew back on board? Just talking about the science ops, I've always thought that, there's only 3 up there. It's pretty hard to do much besides just maintain the thing.
Well, I'm getting a pretty good amount of science done even right now with just the 3 of us. It does limit, though, quite a bit. So with the full complement up here, it would definitely help our science utilization.
It's back to Peter again. I'm just wondering, from a personal standpoint, when you're up there for 6 months at a time, there are an awful lot of things that you miss, and I'm wondering if you're missing any important personal or family milestones while you're there.
Yes, I am. Actually, in about a week, my son is going to graduate from high school, and my youngest son, and I'm going to miss that, unfortunately, but I will get to hopefully video con in and get to watch part of it at least. And so that's a little, sad for me, but we've talked about it. We both understand it, and then we'll move on from that point. But that's one of the biggest things going on for the summer.
Well, a few weeks ago, we had Rick Mastracchio deliver the commencement address, or at least part of the commencement address for University of Connecticut. Do you have any such thing planned for your son's high school graduation?
No, not at all. I'm just going to hopefully get to watch it.
What has been the most surprising part of your stay so far?
That's a good question. The most surprising part of my stay. I've never thought about that one for sure, because we get prepped on almost everything coming up here, so nothing really has surprised me too much. I guess still what's surprising to me is still how I can look out that window and still be amazed every time I look out the window. You think you might grow old of that? You don't.
Hey, it's Bill again. Let me just follow that up for a second. I've always been curious that, you have a short duration flight versus a long duration flight, the adaptation to microgravity. How has it been just adapting to living up there in the absence of gravity as we know it? Is it very different from your shuttle experience?
It is a little different. Shuttle experience, you say, was as short as 14 days approximately. And, you can deal with anything for 14 days. It doesn't matter what is going on. You can just deal with it. Maybe this doesn't work. Maybe, something's going to have issues with this or that. And you can just deal with it, and boom, you're back down and no issues, or no problems. Here, though, if there is something coming up, you got to take care of it, and you got to learn how to deal with it, and you got to come up with a solution that can work every day and for a long period of time. It's just like visiting a foreign country or some other place, and maybe your electrical outlet doesn't work, and so for a couple of days you can handle it. But if you have to live there for 6 months, you're going to want to get a fix to that, and you're going to solve your problem.
And it's Peter again, and along those lines, is there anything there that has not lived up to your expectations or hopes?
No, not really. I think everything's done pretty much just as expected. It's an enjoyable time. Doing the science is fun. I enjoy working with the ground teams. And definitely, again, like I say, looking out the window and just floating around are fantastic things to do.
Okay, one last question. This is one I'm personally curious about because I work a lot of early mornings and I like an afternoon nap. Are you guys allowed to take a quick nap from time to time during your workday?
Well, if you get ahead, you can, but that's very rare that you get ahead in your schedule. So most likely, no, we don't get to do that. We have a pretty tight schedule every day that we work, and there is no nap time scheduled in there.
There are no naps in space. Commander, thank you so much for the time this afternoon.
My pleasure.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the CBS Radio News portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from ABC News Digital.
He was always kind of embarrassed and ashamed of that. So the fact that I had started this...
Station, this is ABC News Digital. How do you hear me?
He played an important role.
I have you loud and clear.
Done this for this reason and to help other little kids learn to read and write. So the fact that they called me...
Great, thank you. We'll get going.
Just thought that was the greatest thing. He was proud of me for all my other success, but I think he felt a part of that, and so that meant a lot to him personally.
I know that your foundation is something that you take very seriously. And that
yes, it is. We give books to children from the time they're born, once a month.
This is a special report from ABC News Digital.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Klepler in New York. The relationship between the U.S. and Russia may be tense here on Earth, but there is still some cooperation between both in space. There are currently 2 American astronauts on board the International Space Station, living and working alongside 3 Russian cosmonauts. So to tell us more about the relationship and everyday life on the ISS, I want to bring in Expedition 40 Commander Steve Swanson from the International Space Station, some 230 miles above Earth. Steve, thanks for being with us today. We really appreciate that. And I wanted to start off, has anything changed up there because of what is going on the ground here between Russia and the U.S.?
No, nothing has changed for us. Our operations are continuing just as they always have.
How would you then describe the relationship then between the U.S. astronauts and cosmonauts? Is it a rivalry? Is it a brotherhood in space almost?
Oh, it's definitely a brotherhood in space. I mean, we ride up on the same rocket together. We train together. We become close friends. It's not just this crew here, but with other ones we've worked with before on the ground. And so we are definitely a brotherhood of space explorers.
Do you talk either among the other fellow astronauts or the cosmonauts, the events that are happening here back on Earth at all, about the politics that's happening?
Yeah, we do talk a little bit about the politics. I mean, you almost can't help it. It's in the news, and we watch the news and read the news. And so we will talk about it, but we also know that that's politics, and we also have our job over here, which is not related.
230 miles above Earth. Everything kind of separates out a little bit. Now, this is the third time you've been at the space station, right? And the first time, though, as a commander. How different, then, is your role?
Well, it was quite a bit different. And the first 2 times were on shuttle missions, and they were short duration, and they were to build a space station and concentrating on that task. Now it's totally different for me in that sense, is that now I'm up here for a long duration. My main task is science up here, which is a big difference, and also maintaining the station on a day-to-day basis. And so those aspects are even probably bigger than just doing the difference between being a flight engineer and a commander. As a commander role, though, the big difference is, of course, taking care of the big picture between the ground and us on board and making sure everything's running smoothly in both places.
Now, you went on a spacewalk back in April. It seems that there are more and more robotic arms going up on the next kind of equipment runs, if you will. Will there be fewer spacewalks then in the future, given that robotics is going to be playing a larger role?
Well, no, I think there will be larger robotic operations, but that's good because I think we're still going to have plenty of spacewalks to do. There's other things that we can do that it can't do, and so if we didn't have the robotic arm helping us, we'd have almost too many spacewalks to do, and we wouldn't get much else done. So it's a great trade-off right now that we have going.
All right, let me ask you this then. Given the fact that it is your third trip up there, and you've kind of grown accustomed to life on the ISS, but what are you really missing? What are you craving back here on Earth?
Well, of course, being with family and friends is, I guess, the first and foremost on your mind all the time. But if you take that one aside, what do you crave most? And I would say the thing for me is like being able to cook on my grill outside in the backyard and put a nice hamburger or a juicy steak on there and do the whole thing up that way. That's what I'm missing.
All right, well, then I won't tell you the fact that we've had some beautiful weather down here recently in North America. But that being aside, you've had some special social media history from your time up there at the ISS, in fact, because you were the first one to Instagram from space. Did you realize that you were going to be this milestone maker?
No, I didn't. I had no idea that was happening. So I was kind of taken by surprise about the whole event.
You're from Colorado. You love the great outdoors. Clearly, you love barbecuing, grilling outside there, mountain biking, mountain climbing as well. Obviously, you can't do that in space. So what do you do up there to relax for downtime?
Well, I still work out, and that does help me relax. But for other downtime, looking out the window is the number one downtime you can have. It's not being outside, but I get to see some beautiful scenery. It's like you got to climb to the top of some big mountain, and then you get to look out upon the valleys and everything below, and that's still a great thing to see. So that relaxes me too. Besides that, a little watching TV and just hanging out with the guys.
Watching TV. All right, what are your favorite shows then when you guys are up there? I'm assuming there's maybe one or a limited number of television sets up there, so you guys have to kind of agree on what everyone's going to watch, right?
Well, we watch them on our laptops, and so you can, if we're watching together, we'll of course have to be all huddled around a little laptop screen, and we do, of course, watch some sports. Since that's a standard nice group activity to do, but there's also some other shows, anywhere from like Game of Thrones or stuff like that we watch together.
So tell me a little about the work that you guys are doing up there. What are some of the experiments that you guys are conducting?
Oh, there's many experiments. There's over 170. So there's different types. There's ones that are like outside that we don't even touch, which I think are very interesting. The alpha magnetic spectrometer, which is trying to look for dark energy and dark matter and antimatter, which I find fascinating. We got that HD camera that's outside, looking down and taking pictures, and people can see it online. I think that's great. We also have Opal's experiment, which is trying to use lasers to communicate to the ground in a very high bandwidth. That's great. Inside, though, we do many other experiments. Most of them are on, right now, or seem to be on plants and working with them, or on the human body, and working on ourselves and trying to figure out how we are adapting and what are our bodies going through for the changes for living up here.
So you guys are actually growing plants up there, like common, ordinary, everyday plants?
Yeah, right now I'm growing romaine lettuce and trying to get it to grow up to be a large plant that we could possibly eat. This is just the first time we're trying this, so I'm actually not going to get to eat it, though I have to send it back to the ground where they have to analyze it and check out what microbes are on it, etc. Is there anything interesting or different about this one that would cause it to be not edible? So we're kind of taking it safe first, and but it's starting to look pretty tasty, though, I'll tell you that.
Hey, fascinating. Well, we certainly appreciate your time and all the work that you guys are doing up there on the ISS. Steve Swanson, thank you so much. We certainly appreciate that. This has been an ABC News Digital Special Report. You can keep up with the story in real time, downloading the ABC News app, starring the story for exclusive updates.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes the event.
Thank you, CBS Radio News and ABC News Digital. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications. Well done, Swanee. Thank you.